This question that I received from the student relates to switches and routers. It's a relatively open-ended, fairly simple, straightforward question, which I could have answered in one line. We do talk about switches and routers in the on-demand program in quite a bit of detail. Despite having 16 to 18 pages of reference material in the handbook, it is kind of silent on switches and routers. Okay. So the student is saying that according to your computer network slides, you describe a switch as the following: interconnects two or more hosts on the same network using a protocol. What exact protocols does a switch use to connect the host to the same network? So in order to respond to the student's question, I did provide a detailed answer, but in my opinion, first of all, if you take a strategic approach towards it, recognize that the reference handbook has not even discussed switches and routers. So if you understand the application of switches and routers, where do they reside in the OSI, TCP, IP model layers, what they do, what are the similarities and differences, I think you are already going above and beyond what is expected of you. Does it make sense? Now, for you to sort of memorize, which I don't encourage, to memorize different layers, different protocols associated with switches, I think that is a little bit of an overkill. Okay. So if we look at it from a very fundamental standpoint, switches primarily operate at layer 2, the data link layer of the OSI model. Their main function is to receive incoming data packets and forward them to appropriate destinations within the same network based on MAC addresses. And within the program, we went over MAC addresses as part of network devices and components. As far as the protocols are concerned, again, I don't think that you're expected to memorize these protocols, but these are some of the protocols that that they use. Okay, these protocols enable switches to connect hosts within the same network more effectively and manage the traffic in complex networks. In the context of exam preparation, and this is key, guys, it is sufficient, I would even say important, to understand the functionality and differences of switches and routers. So what are the functionalities? What are the roles? What are the applications? What are the similarities and differences between switches and routers? This table kind of summarizes it. So from the standpoint of the OSI model layer, switches are mainly operating in layer 2, data link layer, and there are some switches which are layer 3 switches as well. Routers operate at layer 3, in layer 3 network layer. So addressing information that is used, we are dealing with MAC addresses. So MAC addresses, think of it like as individual device address, whereas a router is using IP address, which is sort of a broader address, okay? And then essentially at a more granular level, we will be addressing individual components and devices directly. So switches are more granular, more one-to-one, okay? Whereas router is sort of your freeway traffic. Like this is in the context of, let's say we are talking about Amazon deliveries. This is the last mile. Are you guys familiar with the concept of last mile delivery? Those are the couriers who basically deliver at your doorstep. Okay. But you would have seen Amazon trailers, 12-wheelers, 16-wheelers on the freeways, right? Think of those as routers. Okay. Functionality creates and manages LANs. So local area network, right? That's what they're managing. Whereas these guys, routers are connecting multiple networks. Okay. So again, when we are dealing with freeways, okay, the interstate highways, for example, they're connecting multiple towns and cities, for instance, states even, right? Interstate highways. Whereas switches can be thought of as like arteries, okay, the road network within a town. Traffic segmentation, so their responsibilities, again, collision domains, reducing collisions within LAN, whereas these guys are managing broader traffic across the networks. Device types, we have local devices because we are operating within a single organization. Over here, we have multiple networks that are being connected and often includes internet connectivity. At the end of the day, what is an internet? Internet is a network of networks, correct? That's where the router is coming into play. Role in connectivity enhances connectivity within a LAN. So again, this is the same theme that is being repeated over and over again at a broad level. At a high level, your switches are part of a LAN. Okay, they are more local, they are more granular. Okay, they are more specific, whereas routers operate at a network level, at a higher level. Traffic management, again, local traffic, whereas over here we are managing the flow of data between different networks, distinct networks. Okay, primary use, and if you want to remember this, this is the easiest way to remember. They are used to connect devices like computers, printers, and servers within the same network. When it comes to routers, they are used to connect the internet, connect to the internet, linking different networks within and between organizations. Does it make sense? And the reason I included this question in today's discussion was that even though this is a very straightforward, simple question, and I did answer it relatively quickly, I still think that there is value in kind of shifting gears, right? When you are learning things in the context of the exam. I don't think that learning protocols, memorizing these protocols related to switches is important. But understanding what is the difference between a switch and router, what are the different functionalities, where they operate, this level of understanding, I think, and if you get tested on it, should be a fair game. Okay. And within the on-demand course, you know that we have specific lectures, quizzes dealing with switches and routers. We also talk about hubs and gateways. Unfortunately, despite having 16 to 18 pages of content in the reference handbook, we don't have much detail on switches and routers. But very specifically in the exam specification, they actually have a line item, or they make an explicit reference to switches and routers. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. On a weekly basis, I'm creating content for FE Electrical and PE Power exam preparation. I also discuss topics related to electrical engineering with a focus on power systems engineering. If you'd like to learn more about my FE Electrical and PE Power exam preparation programs, please visit my website, StudyForFE.com.